Hi there, all CBI students. Really time for our last video. I want to give some feedback on the peer assessment that you've helped me with. You are really contributing towards improving the educational effort in the department, and I just want to give you some feedback on what we have learned. Just to start with, I just want to say CBI class of 2018, you were truly amazing. You, similar to those microbes, really pushed the big weights, and it's an honor and a privilege to work with guys like you. You have been pushing the weights, and it's really, I say this again, it's an honor to work with the caliber of student that you are. So I try and teach all my students that teaching is a cycle, and today is really all about saying what I have learned from you, because it was not just the process of you learning from me, I have also learned from you. So the talk is really going to be is going to be highly focused on comparing different marks. So just before we get started, there are a few marks that we work with here. We work with your semester mark for CBI itself. We work with your exam mark. We compare those. And then there's also, if we get the average of these two, of course, we get the final mark. And then in addition, there's the peer mark. I'll show you how I've calculated the peer mark. So the peer mark will also be compared to, in our case, the final mark. So two major comparisons. Semester will be compared to exam, and final will be compared to how you guys rated one another. So just a note on comparing marks. If we get, for example, a semester mark and an exam mark, you might not get the same average, and you might not get the same distribution. So in terms of comparing, it's more ideal to to normalize the distributions so that they become the same. So I just want to bring up this. So effectively what we do is we have a method of aligning the two distributions. So we effectively decide on the average that we want to have, and we also decide on the standard deviation that we want to have. And after we've done that with both sets of marks, you can see the blue and the red over here, we have a better way of comparing the marks to one another. So you can see here, I like to take the distribution, whether it's from whatever mark it is, and distribute it into separate bins. That's just to make it discrete. So it's easy to do this given a certain distribution, and I just want to make this one smaller and bring this one up. So basically what we as lecturers, we talk about you a lot, and we kind of think about you in a certain manner with regards to your mark. So take me for example. I always thought that if you are let's say you in this light blue region, you are a student who's close to a distinction, sometimes getting distinction, sometimes missing out on distinctions. Through the semester, the idea is that your semester mark will more or less be reflected by your potential. Let's say you're a 4 student, you will stay here. Maybe you have a bit of a improvement in some of your tests. Maybe you'll have some test that goes bad. But the whole idea is that you stay close to what we think is more or less your mark. So if you're a light blue bin type of guy, well, you might move into green slightly, you'll move out, and you might move into the very good dark blue, but typically you'll stay around this zone. You won't, for example, just jump to the yellow zone or even jump to the red zone. So we think of students as a yellow student staying more or less in a yellow bin, a green student staying more or less in a green bin. So and we also think of ourselves of having methods to show more or less what you're worth, and that we will be consistent in terms of showing what you're worth. Keep this in mind when I go on with the talk. So just a small remark on getting the peer review mark. So basically what me and Carl did is we started with a historic mark. So we just took an average of all your previous marks at the university to get an initial distribution. And then, as you remember, as the class went on, we continually continually rated one another. So let's say, for example, you have a student over here and you have a student over here, and they are now rating one another. So a lot of you, that was probably, our questions wasn't that perfect, but a lot of you tended to say that this guy is exactly as good as I am. So if this happened for this specific two students, if this student over here rated this student as the same, you would actually find that this student will now move closer to that student, and vice versa. If the student in the light blue rated the student in the yellow as the same, he will move up. Okay. Now, it can also happen, for example, that the students rate one another as the light blue student can rate the yellow student as much poorer than me, and depending on our parameters, you might stay in a fixed position or you might move down. If the student in the yellow rates the student in the blue as much better, he might have the possibility of moving up. But we've got some parameters to adjust, and for each peer rating that you've done, we basically shift your position according to how the other students rate you. And as the semester progresses, you basically move around in a bin, and then we end up with a final peer review mark. So just want to spend some time on this. So this is now a graphical comparison, and typically something we'll compare is to say, let's say this is the semester mark and this is the exam mark. Okay, so I've told you before, we hope that if you are a green bin type of student in your semester mark, you will also end up in the green bin in the exam mark, because the idea is that you have a certain level of understanding, and basically that you will prove that same level of understanding over and over again. So if you, for example, were a green guy, you will now have, if you get exactly the same 2 marks, you will lie exactly on this middle line over here, where the marks are exactly the same. Okay, you don't have to be exactly the same. You probably might be slightly off, where for example, let's take a distinction guy over here that gets a distinction, but then in the exam he misses out, or your exam was a distinction, but your semester mark over here. So exam was a distinction, but semester mark was not a distinction. So then you're slightly off the line where you're exactly the same. And what we do is we define a line of 5% above your mark and 5% below your mark to define a region over here. And this region is really to say, well, we can't be exact, but for example, if you had a mark of 60%, we say when we assess you, we want you to be within the range of 65 or 55, given this little variation over here. So that's how we track how accurate your assessment is, well, more or less, or rather, I should rather say how repeatable your assessment is. So first thing we did was to compare the semester mark to the exam mark. So this has nothing to do with the peer rating. This is purely based on the 2 separate marks, and as I said over and over again, we're kind of hoping for, if you're a yellow bin guy, you stay there. If you're a blue bin guy, you stay there. So ideally speaking, we want all the students to really lie within these bounds that we have defined. So I can show you the data, but we're thinking all the students, if we plot them, the bin that they were in initially is most likely to be the bin that they end up. Let me just write over here. So this will be the semester mark, and this will be the exam mark. And we are hoping for most of the students, each student will present a dot, because you have an exam mark as well as a semester mark, and where those two combine, we plot you. Okay, so what did we find? And what we found here was quite surprising, because the number of you students lying within this band that I've just discussed. So we kind of look at how repeatable our semester mark is to our exam mark by looking how many people are lying within this region. And you must now take a guess. What fraction of you kept within the +5, -5 region? I'll give you the answer. It was only 23%. That's, to be honest, horrific. Truly horrific. Okay. The rest of you, this plot, I'll just redraw the real plot here, but the rest of you were lying all over the place. It really looked like almost a gunshot, and only less than a quarter of you were lying in this region that we wanted you to lie. So that's the +5, -5%. So horrific when we compare the semester test to the exam. Then the 23% we had on the semester exam comparison. Move on to another comparison. Here we compare now the peer mark to the and I didn't use the exam mark, I used the final mark, which is really the average of the exam and the semester mark together. Okay, so what happened here? Once again, like before, we want you to be, each student, if we plot him within this predefined range where we have repeatability in terms of where you were before and where you were after. And here we look at the final mark versus the peer review mark. We still had major scatter and final value. And remember, with our peer mark, we were able to have some parameters, some adjustments made in terms of how much you move in this distribution, and the best we could get was 27%, so it's at least slightly bigger than a quarter. So 27% of you remained within this band where we want you to remain, where you get more or less a similar result. 27% is still not good, but I must, it has to be remarked that it's better. So what does this give us? How stable is our bins? And the answer to this question is our bin stability is very poor. We think we have an idea of what kind of, what your mark is, but in real, as a matter of fact, you travel around in this distribution a lot. So a student in the light blue can end up in the red, or a student over here can end up in the red. So there's a massive almost, you can say, run around within this distribution. There's no stability. For one mark you in the green bin, for the other mark you in the red bin. One mark you in the light blue bin, another mark you in the yellow blue bin. So really, there's no certainty as to where you will end when you go into your next test. And this is not a good thing, because this is really creating, and we spoke about this, it's creating a lot of anxiety. It's creating anxiety because there is no certainty as to where you will fall. And this really makes me question about how effective is our assessment. Are we really testing what you understand and know? Should we, because the way it is highly unstable, and you guys really move around in this distribution a lot. And I can just imagine the more you move around, the less stable you feel and the more anxious you feel, so it's really something to consider. The fact that of course, you have the dreaded red bin over here, and from the analysis it appears that we distribute a lot of you through this red bin. Even green guys might suddenly end up in a red bin, blue guy might suddenly end up in a red bin. Not a good thing, and the results have clearly shown this to us. So we have learned that we are not testing you as good as we think, that there's no certainty in terms of where you will land, and that our assessment method is really far from perfect. But if we have a look at the positive side, what was gained in this whole exercise, I'll tell you the one thing that was gained specifically via the peer evaluation, it is that I got you guys to prepare I got this from the CLB feedback. It was evident that most of you said this. You said the fact that you're coming to class, there's going to be 3 of you sitting, interacting with little teaching cycles, and you want to show what you understand, and therefore and you know that you're going to be rated on your understanding. So the assessment really drove the preparation. So that was something really useful that was gained. And then also a lot of you gave feedback on the number of 3 just working perfect, and I must admit, compared to 2017, the level of understanding, the questions that you guys gave me were really much better than the year before. So I really believe these cycles of these 3 students together in groups, rating one another, questioning one another, getting to understand the work better together, really helped in terms of raising your level of understanding. So that is what gained. What was next? What's coming next? Of course, we learn from what we've got from you guys, and we now try next year to do something differently. So next year we're gonna have little tests. So let's say there's about 20 sessions. We had about 20 of these sessions here. There's going to be 20 tests for each session. Okay, that test will typically be 30 minutes. And apart from the test, you will remain in your group of 3, and there will also be 20 peer evaluations, which we will complete right before the test. A lot of you guys said you should give more than 20 minutes before the rating is due. Let's do the whole work session together and then rate one another. I'm listening to you guys. That's what we will be doing next year. So given that we now are going to have 20 tests, 20 peer evaluations, we're going to have, well, let's call it a high resolution sampling of comparing peer marks to test marks. So there's really going to be a comparison possible on the day, where you've basically before given an estimate what the guy is going to get, and then you'll get it in the test. So there'll be less averaging, because the results I've presented today was really based on a lot of marks thrown together, and this whole peer mark evaluation that was a combination, a composite of a lot of evaluations, and then in the end we only compared 2 composite marks with one another. So next year there'll be more of a high resolution look at things, where we have a real-time comparison of today's test and a rating on your preparation before the test. So that's what's happening next year. Lastly, just from my side, I want to say thank you guys. You have made CBI a better course. It will be better next year because of you. I've said that this at the beginning of the year. It is truly an honor to work with the intellectual cream of South African youngsters. It was a privilege. Thank you, and I wish you good luck for your future careers. Thank you. This will be our last video. Cheers.